Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. So in this video I'm going to talk about my views on backtesting. And a bit of warning here, this is probably going to be controversial to many of you. You're not going to agree with what I'm saying. Perfectly happy to listen to your side of the arguments. Put it in the comments below your thoughts. Anyway, I'm talking about from my experience and my general views on the market as a whole and why I think that backtesting in some terms can be a little bit misleading. Let me explain. Okay, so let's talk about what it means by backtesting. So backtesting to me means that, hey, you've gone out there and you've decided you've got a strategy or a system that works and you've had it coded out in an algorithm, whether that be on some sort of platform like MT4 or whether you've done it hard coded going in directly into the futures market or any of the other platforms out there that are executing automatically for you. Now, whether you do move forward and execute it automatically doesn't matter. The point is you have a strategy that is very much if this, then that, then this, then that, kind of pseudo coded out but into the market. And what you're doing is you're saying, hey, if I was to execute this set of rules and condition under these conditions over a period of time, what would my results be? So let's say now we're in 2017, okay, and someone says, oh, I want to backtest this for the last kind of 10 years and I want to see what would happen if I'd executed my strategy every time that the rules were met over that period of time. Now that may be you're doing it over multiple markets, might be doing FTSE, DAX, Dow, Euro, US dollar, but let's say for example, we just want to do it over the FTSE. Let's say it's a kind of intraday trading strategy that does maybe, one or two trades a day, or maybe one trade every couple of days, if it's got a specific set of criteria that is focused on, getting maybe the movement from a couple of hours. Just for example, say it could be completely different. It could be over several weeks, but let's just use that as an example now. Okay, so someone comes along and says, okay, I've got my algo here. We'll call it an algo, and I want to bolt it in and see how it runs. So these kind of backtesting tools will ultimately say, okay, we've got all the market data, and what we're going to do is we're going to then use your algorithm, and when the rules are met, we'll place a trade and we'll log all that, and then we'll spit out the kind of results of that. And the results you're going to get are something like, you've had X% profitable trades, you've made Z pounds, your drawdown was Y, all these kind of different parameters, all these different things. Now, depending obviously on what your algorithm is doing and what you're trying to achieve, the bottom line number is you want to see how much money that you would have made, and obviously you're going to be able to input kind of stake size or position size relative to percentage, all these kind of things. But ultimately what you're kind of getting is a yes or no that you want to use this algorithm moving forward now. Okay, these are different parameters you're going to get, and you're going to kind of adjust them, and you're going to kind of perceive them differently, but the outcome's still the same. The outcome is still, hey, listen, do I want to use the algo or not, right? So this is, let's wipe some of this stuff off. So, we've got this scenario now where we've backtested and we've said, okay, we think we want to use it. Now, the problem I think is with backtesting is that guys will come out and they say, hey, I've got a profitable strategy. I backtested it and it worked really, really well for the last 10 years and it made, X% or whatever it may be. And you go, okay, that's really, really good, right? But the thing is, when you're backtesting something over such a long period of time, there seems to be kind of this thing that, the longer it sort of stands its ground and holds true, the better it is. And this is where I disagree, because, markets move in phases. You have periods of time where, markets are in a bull market, they're kind of in a range bound. There might be periods of times where they're in a bear market. You might get periods of times where they're really, really volatile. You've got these different sections of market conditions, and you get these from, on every time frame. You get this from sort of year to year, a chunk of years here. Maybe that's a year, maybe that's a year, maybe that's 4 years. Or even in like a month, sometimes you get this like couple of days of that, couple of days of that. That. So the different market conditions, but obviously we're talking now about a longer period of time. So let's say that is over the 10 years. A strategy that performs well over this it's okay, but what will happen is you're probably going to find that it performs very, very well here, you know, it performs pretty badly here, it performs okay here, and it gets nailed here. And the outcome is, oh, well, let's put an extra tick here. I've just met, you know, it's slightly positive, which, you know, that's not really that good, is it? Because let's think about this. If you were in these conditions now and you employed what supposedly was a positive strategy because you've back tested it, here we are now, 2017, we're in a choppy environment. Let's imagine we are, okay? We come back and we say, hey, it's back tested, it's come great. You know, if this carries on for the next 3 years, you're going to be down a massive amount. So what do? You stick with the thing? Well, it's worked fine when you back test it over 10 years. Yeah, but, you know, this has kind of been adjusted and you've not made the money that you probably should have out of it. So, I don't know that you can obviously see where the drawdown has come and you can make some judgment on it and all that kind of stuff. But my point is that, you know, it's far more effective in my eyes to back test and say, hey, I am going to group the market conditions into one. I'm going to say, okay, whatever my rules are, if we have, you know, a moving average that's extending from another, then for multiple periods of time, I'm going to call that kind of condition one. If we have, you know, a kind of choppy environment where Bollinger Band highs are hit and removed, or some kind of, you know, parameters that will indicate this, I'm going to call that 2, you know, I'm going to call that 3 and call that 4. So some parameters that indicate that this is the conditions that we're in, and obviously you have to take an average of that, and this is where your judgment comes in of how long that's going to happen, and then bolting that strategy into that and saying, okay, this is my algo, I'm going to bolt it into this time period and see exactly what happens, you know. And if it works very, very well, it's going to kill it in this environment. You know, it's going to lose it in this, it's going to lose in this. But the interesting thing then is that you know that every time that this sort of environment has occurred, and maybe it has occurred multiple times in your back testing thing, that it's done very, very well. That to me is much a far, far, far more confidence in the strategy than someone who says, well, it's worked, you know, back tested it over multiple years and it's traded it kind of, you know, once every few days for the last 10 years and it's made money. You know, to me, that's far less of, you know, a reason to employ it than someone who says, hey, you know what, it's back tested over the last 10 years. It got really active, you know, in kind of 4 out of those 10 years and it traded very actively in spells and it's made this much money or it's lost this much money. That's far more useful to me. And I say this from a point of view, a perspective of, listen, you know, I've experienced a lot of different types of markets from 2003 all the way up to, you know, where we are now. And I know that from just employing my own strategies, not from an automated trading perspective, but employing my own strategies, that some strategies work very, very well in markets. You know, I've got strategies that work absolutely brilliantly in bear markets, but you're just going to get smashed to death if you employ them in this kind of market, or even in bull markets. It's just not the same kind of strategy, and vice versa. You know, it's about picking the right strategy for the job. So this is why I'm a little bit cautious about backtesting. I see the advantage of it. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. And if you've got the skill to be able to program it and backtest it or run someone for you under the conditions that you want to employ it, then that's great, because it's going to give you an idea. You're going to say, hey, listen, you know, what my max drawdown is, how much do I need to employ on it? You can tweak it a little bit and you can play around with it. And it gives you a good base to perhaps start from. But my caution is when you're back testing over a big period of time, you're taking in many different times of market conditions and you're using the same kind of strategy, because to me that's fundamentally flawed. It's a flawed kind of approach to it. But anyway, I'm open to, you know, your views and comments on this. I'm definitely not a back testing expert. I've done my fair share of little bits and pieces, but I'm really based on, you know, I've got bits of paper with my strategies on, or even in a Word document, and I know when I tweak them and I adjust them, and I kind of use the ones that are working very, very well in the current conditions, leave the other ones to gather dust, and then when they kind of stop working, the conditions change, I might employ different ones. So that's kind of my approach. But again, everyone's different. I know people out there doing very, very well from automated trading. We'll be interested to know if you're doing very well on automated trading, how you're kind of doing your back testing, and you know, what criteria you put in and what you think about my thoughts on these different market conditions and stuff. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and comments below, always appreciated as per usual. Take care, good trading. Bye-bye.